Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I thought that it was a good opportunity to share my experience, my impressions after playing all three demo scenarios. They're not demo, the first three scenarios provided in the demo copy, the prototype copy of Reign of Hades, and share my impressions from the game. So I think I'll start by saying a couple of words for each of the scenarios: the introductory scenario, scenario number 1 and scenario number 2. So be prepared that there are going to be spoilers because I'm going to mention things about the story. Of course, I believe, in my opinion, that the scenarios are fully replayable and there's a good replayability and a good value to playing them again and also starting again the campaign. But for those of you who don't want to hear anything about the game, they want to explore it on their own, be prepared to hear some spoilers about the story, about the situation, about the difficulties I faced, and a bit of the gameplay. So let me start with each of the scenarios. Guide you through the story slightly and through my impressions of the gameplay of each of those quickly in a nutshell. So let's start with the introductory scenario, the Wedding Crashers. Now this, I think, puts our heroes and ourselves in the story, in the theme of the game, in the heart of the theme of the game. Basically, Wedding Crashers, we are the gods of Olympus. Athena, Artemis, Hephaestus and Zeus are invited to the wedding of Hades and Persephone. Now this seems to be like an occasion for putting all the hate behind and get to the wedding, to the feast, and celebrate and enjoy, but only to find out soon enough that this is just an attempt to outrule and trick our heroes, our gods, from Hades, so that he can get out of Tartarus, of the underworld, and escape and get to reign in their place and get to place himself in Olympus. So what happens thematically is that we're poisoned. So whether you're playing Zeus, Artemis, Athena, or Artemis, no matter if you're playing two-player game or I play two-handed player hero game. I could also play the Lone Wolf, but I prefer to play it as a two-handed. I think it's also doable. So no matter which heroes you find yourself handling, you're going to be poisoned. But this first of all puts us in a very nice dramatic scene where we're in like betrayal. We're in a celebration, in a feast, and we're getting poisoned because we're starting getting not feeling well and getting dizzy. But on the same time, a lot of monsters knock the door. So you have satyrs and nymphs knocking things over, and we're trying to fight these monsters. So the first scenario, the introductory scenario, serves as a very good way to teach the game. You play first of all with the backside of the character boards, the hero boards. There are our gods, which has some reduced version of actions. So it's a good way to not put everything in front of the players. So I found it very easy to learn the basics about the basic actions. And the difference between battlefield and cover actions, and how to go between each of them, and select if you're playing, if you're focusing with this specific hero on the cover actions or on the battlefield action, and how to do it and when to do it carefully. But you can do it in a very easy way because not everything is thrown at you. I found it very easy to get behind the rules, understand how to fight monsters, how to move around, how to take my actions. And I didn't have any mandatory missions that I had to run out and objectives, so that made it easier. And I could focus on just learning the game and introducing myself to the game. So overall, a very easy way to get to know a quite demanding but highly satisfying game because it has quite a few rules, as you'll find out. But the way that the game presents them, from the introductory to scenario 1, scenario 2, it gradually gives you everything without overwhelming you from the beginning. Even for experienced gamers, I played myself a lot of dungeon crawlers, a lot of thematic games, campaign games. I really appreciated the introductory scenario, the Wedding Crashers, for this game. I would say even more so from other games, because I think it really helped me digest the core of the game and then move forward to the main course, which is scenario 1 and scenario 2. So overall, great scenario, easy to play. Fantastic way to learn the basics, fighting some monsters, moving around, getting to know your bearings and your actions, and highly recommended to try and play it because even if you want to jump right ahead into scenario 1, scenario 2, I've done it in some of campaign games myself. I think it's really recommended to start from the introductory scenario on this one and not skip anything. It's very, very well constructed and delivers a very good understanding of the game core mechanics and gets you into, jumping position, starting position for the gameplay purposes. So that's all about the introductory scenario. Now, scenario 2. Scenario 2 is, I would say, the first full-bodied scenario. Still doesn't have all the rules, but it gives you the majority of the gameplay experience, at least a very, very good portion of it. Thematically, years has passed, we're still imprisoned. Our heroes from in the introductory scenario, Zeus, Athena, Artemis and Hephaestus, are trapped, locked inside dark prison cells, kept there intentionally from Hades in order to force us to give him a way out so that he can get out of there and rule in our place, essentially. Now, from theme point of view, we're starting in cells, so we get Persephone's help from a way of getting us to start give us hope to try to get out of our, let's say, limbo situation where we're sitting prisoned. So we start rushing out of the gate cells, and we try to get our weapons. We don't have our signature weapons, and I like the fact that in the scenario 1 you are getting to recover them and then use them moving forward in scenario 2. Now, this is like a main objective of the game. You're trying to move around, you're fighting Drakenas, you're fighting spawns, and of course the giant hands. There is a huge giant with 100 hands popping out of the center of the map, the campaign book. And whenever this monster car comes attacking us, and it's like, you can imagine a giant hand jumping over and crushing you and hitting you. So this doesn't give us a rest, so jumping from introductory, go directly to a very demanding and thematically intense, I would say, scenario. In terms of gameplay, very, very interesting how you have to balance your approach, you have to discover things, and now the introductory the mandatory objections come into place. The specific objects that missions, I think objects are called. You have the mandatory and the optional. You can gain optional to gain some rewards. You can do some of them, but your main focus, like I would say in video games, these remind me a bit of video games, is your main objectives. And your main objectives are visible. You know what you need to do. You need to visit specific places, do different things, interact with different spots, and read the story and see what's going on. But you have to do them in order to progress the scenario. So this immediately puts me in perspective, because I have to prioritize things to do, and I have to get myself feasible to get my heroes with my teammates. I played it solo, collaborating with my heroes efficiently so that I can really get my weapons, which is really important. Actually, thematically, the game says if only they knew how much more powerful you are with your signature weapons, and you can understand why they just kept them locked in a cell nearby. Because otherwise, if you knew what you can do with them, they wouldn't keep them nearby. So it has a nice link to it. In terms of gameplay, now we're playing with the advanced side of our hero boards. We have the full plate, okay? We can lure monsters. We can keep them at bay so that we can selectively, like, you can think of it like, stun them, so you keep them occupied somehow above your player board. You can deal with other monsters and then come back to it, but you need to balance this efficiently, because if you're overwhelmed and your monster queue is overwhelmed, then most probably you're going to lose the game. So this gives quite a good flexibility, because sometimes monsters keep coming, Drakenas and spawns and the giant hands, etc. So you need to set a monster aside and, let's say, lock it for a round so that you can face it later and focus your efforts, your attacks on other monsters or other dangers on the board. Now, the story flows well. Again, spoiler here, but you're retrieving a flute, and the flute, once you play the flute, then you put this giant monster to sleep, because there's no way you can defeat it. So the only way out is you have to make it fall asleep, so that you can crawl over it and get out of scenario 1. And this is a fantastic, I should say, thematic immersion portion of the game. I really enjoyed it, because it made me feel that my efforts of fighting monsters and moving around and getting my weapons first are linked with a dynamic end to the scenario. So I really enjoyed it. I also enjoyed how I had access to many more options, both for the cover and the battlefield portion of the hero board. So finding out what to do when, how to better combine it, how to organize it, I think it gives a very, very robust game frame in terms of gameplay. Collaborating with your teammates, making sure that you use the correct actions, the correct time, and time it with what you're trying to do as an overall direction so that you can win the scenario. Now, scenario 2, my third scenario of the game and the final one included in this prototype. So things are escalating both thematically and gameplay wise, as you should be expecting, as I was expecting, and I was very pleasantly surprised that this was the case. So not more of the same, both in terms of theme and story, but also in terms of expectations in gameplay and what you need to be doing. What do I mean about that? Of course, we're fighting different monsters, and one of the things that I like in this game, and also I think I've seen it much more in scenario 2, is that you're fighting with the deck that comes with the scenario, you're fighting different types of monsters. And this gives the game design gives this flexibility because you have miniature encounters and you don't have different, which are all the same, and that's fine, and you have some boss battler miniatures. So when you interact with the encounters, the miniature encounters, they look really nice, but they have the same sculpt. So that's, for me, I liked it. Typically I like to have more different types of enemies and huge amount of trays of minis, etc. Here I like it because I could focus on the gameplay more. Don't get me wrong, visually it's fantastic. I didn't feel that it's repetitive seeing the same miniatures for the encounters. But what I'm trying to say is that the game design gives you the flexibility of, instead of putting you different, I don't know, goblins and orcs and archers and whatever types of monsters, and you need to have a group, okay? And that will make it feasibly difficult to do it feasibly in terms of construction, manufacturing, price, etc. It gives you the different deck, which you can have different types of cards. And here I was fighting demons, which was different from all the previous scenarios, scenario 1 and scenario 0, the introductory, with different difficulty, I should say, much more demanding, and that was really, really intense. In terms of, again, using the advanced side of the game board, the normal side of the game board, with more options like before from scenario 1, also in scenario 2, having full grasp of both cover and battlefield action on your left side of the board and your right side of the board. Also bringing forward things that you carried over from items from the previous scenarios. So you come a bit more prepared, but still the danger is there. Thematically, you're crossing a bridge and you're seeing the gate of limbo, and you think that behind it you're going to be free and you're going to escape. So there is an intense dynamic state thematically. In gameplay, the scenario 2 is very different from scenario 1 and the previous scenario, because you still have to face monsters, you still have to interact with different things on the board, on the campaign map. It looks completely different from perspective, from art, but also on zones, on how you move. But essentially it's a boss battler, and that for me makes it a complete one level up compared to scenario 0 and scenario 1, because it brings a different element. Here you need to fight a boss at the end, and you're finding that pulling the lever, you need to have all your heroes at one spot because you need to put a lot of force to, even if you're gods, you need to have all your gods in one spot to pull the lever and open the gate. And the gate opens 2 times. The first time is going to be for you to face the boss, the monster boss. It's Chimera. And this is a really, really interesting fight. Okay, so you have to win the boss, so you have to win Chimera, and then once you've done it, you can open the gates again, and then you can escape. Moving to scenario 3, which I haven't seen because it hasn't been released with a prototype, and this is part of the full game. So thematically wise, I'm really looking forward to find out what the heck is going to happen with the story with my gods. Even though they're gods, it's my party, it's my group, it's my heroes. So I want to find out what's going on and how the story evolves. And this is amazing because typically I have these expectations out of big narrative games which have huge paragraphs of theme and story and text, and they have to use a lot of effort to put you into this atmosphere, to make you imagine what you're doing and show you what you're trying to do. escape and run off. Here I didn't see that I need to have this full, big, huge paragraphs of text. I got intense thematic injections from the gameplay and the story, because I think it really balanced well my gameplay and my actions and what I'm trying to do, and overall the overall game design. Again, thematically, wow, Scenario 2, I loved it. I think that from gameplay point of view, the main difference is the boss battler. The boss battler, and also now you have the advanced encounters. I think they're not called advanced. I don't remember. I need to remember how they're called. But you have 3, advanced encounters that they also make it even more harder in terms of gameplay. And this is going to carry over from Scenario 2 moving forward. But for me, the most fascinating aspect was the boss battler. And it was fascinating because it was a difficult boss, okay? Still manageable. But it really demands that the players interact well, work well, so that you can win it and you can move forward. Overall, I would say that my experience so far was really interesting. I want to emphasize on the fact that the game is different. It's a hybrid dungeon crawler with high thematic ties without having huge paragraph texts and theme and stories. I don't know how they managed to do that, but it really delivers that. In terms of gameplay, it delivers the customization of your hero. In terms of equipment, you level up your hero, you level up your actions. So this is fantastic. This is like how I would expect a video game to be transferred in terms of gameplay. You get skills and how you can do this on board games. And they've done it with these tiles that you flip them and you have a huge selection of tiles, and what tiles you upgrade makes a huge difference. Both for the hero specifically, but also for the whole party, the whole team, because you need to balance things so that you can be more efficient moving forward as a group. So the abilities and not abilities, I should say, the tiles with the actions that you do can give you better results if you upgrade them, and that's a really great. Your upgraded version of your hero god really is important to get there. What I also liked is the injuries really hurt in this game. Because they don't just give you, you don't just take damage hit points. They also give you headaches, and you need to resolve them to get out of the negative effects that they're imposing. I've seen that in other games when you have injuries, you also get traumas, and they do specific things like broken elbow and whatever. But here it really increased the pressure in terms of gameplay. So I like that. I think I like a lot the escalation, reaching out to the boss battler. I know that there are different bosses, so you're going to be facing other bosses also. But overall, I would pick this game out of a huge variety of dungeon crawls that I have, because I think it's unique. And that's what I said in my preview video, where I explained the rules and I shared my opinion at the beginning and at the end. I stand in my opinion that this game does something different. Now, this is a demanding game. Okay, it's not uber complex, but you need to take it from the hand. It takes you from the hand and start from the introductory, then getting to Scenario 1 and to Scenario 2. But once you have played Scenario 2, unless they introduce more rules, I don't know, maybe, I think it's a smooth ride from there. A demanding, difficult, but smooth ride in terms of learning curve. Now, I shouldn't maybe frighten someone saying that it's a difficult game, because it has a lot of things to master. It's not difficult things that you have, and I think the rulebook is really good, and I'm sure they're going to polish it and make it even better. I had no problem with the rules, but I think it really helps. And as a last point, and I'm going to close with this one, again, this game stands out. It does something different. It gives a very good impression and approach to dungeon crawlers, to thematic games, and to tactical games. I don't know why this hasn't been said enough for this game so far. This is a very tactical game, where you position your hero gods, when you change cover and battlefield, with who and on what, and the timing, and who does, so that who does what in terms of actions is really important. So players really need to collaborate good. Okay, if you're playing solo, you collaborate with yourself, but I mean to collaborate your strength suit, your strength points from your character and how you have developed them, so that you can get better results. And really, I think at least for me, scenario 2 was I was expecting to see a bit more of fight, just a bit different scene, fighting different monsters. Okay, but I've seen that. But it gave me something more, the boss battler, and I really enjoyed the boss battler, fighting Chimera and trying to win it in order to get out of the gate, only to face that you're just going deeper and deeper and darker. So waiting to see what happens in scenario 3 moving forward. So hope I give you some bit of more insight about my feeling about playing the first 3 scenarios. I should say introductory scenario and the first 2 scenarios. But 3 different scenarios overall, which give a different experience, not only from the increased difficulty, but also from what I'm facing and how I have to adjust my decisions and my thinking to what the game expects of you, so that you can, at least for scenario 2, win Chimera and move forward. So thanks for joining. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't seen my preview video on how to play the game, where I also share a bit more about my opinion about the game, which at the time was based on playing a couple of times scenario 1 and the introductory scenario, but now I wanted to share my full opinion with you, also including my experience from scenario 2, which is the latest one that I have finished. So many thanks for joining and seeing this video.